Is the new Unearthed Arcana a sign that D&D 2024 is turning the corner?
It's a miracle!
Today, Wizards of the Coast released the latest Unearthed Arcana playtest for the 2024 Dungeons & Dragons Core Rulebook. While these playtests have been all over the place over the last year and a half or so, it seems like fans are firmly in one camp for this newest Unearthed Arcana. Before we go over what's in it and why folks feel the way they do, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so you always get the latest and greatest in tabletop and fantasy news. Now, this new playtest focuses on the Barbarian, the Druid, and the Monk classes, with the Monk getting another total rework. While fans were critical of the last Monk and Druid playtest, folks, including us, were generally in favor of almost all the changes shown in the newest playtest. Most importantly, monks are now a powerhouse. Monk weapons are back, stunning strikes gain force damage even on a successful save, and monks are able to make unarmed strikes as a bonus action even when they aren't making an attack action, which is great. Also, deflect missiles is now deflect weapons. It now works on melee weapons and spell attacks at higher levels. Perhaps most importantly, discipline points have gotten a rework, with some monk abilities having a baseline effect that no longer requires discipline points to use, which makes the monk much more versatile. Also, the monk's capstone ability is now pretty awesome. It gives players a +4 to both dexterity and wisdom, and increases both those scores' maximum abilities to 26, making the monk feel both enlightened and also a total badass. The Barbarian has also gotten some pretty important buffs, with the largely useless Brutal Critical getting replaced by a Brutal Strike ability that allows players to swap out rolling with advantage with various other effects like dropping an opponent's AC, reducing their speed, or even chucking enemies, which is amazing. Barbarians also regain a rage on a short rest, which is an important buff, and have a new persistent rage ability that restores all rages once per long rest that goes into effect at level 15. If you're playing a high level campaign, you no longer really have to worry about losing your rages because you're going to get them back a lot. And finally, the Druid. It got some changes to wild shapes. All wild shapes are gaining temporary HP, and now Druids have some additional options to choose from when they pick their wild shape, which is a lot better than those, default generic stat blocks. Those were awful. Also, wild shape beast forms no longer retain a Druid species trait, which is great because it means that players won't have to feel like they have to optimize their Druid and pick a specific species. Remember, that's what D&D is calling race now, when they're creating their character. Also, there's some tweaks to the Circle of the Moon subclass, giving them access to set spells that they can cast while wild-shaped, including a couple of new cantrips and some moon-themed spells, and we encourage you to check them out. All in all, given that Druids and Monks, and to a lesser extent Barbarians, were perhaps the most criticized of the playtest classes, all of these changes feel great. The Monk actually seems to have the bulk of its issues fixed now, and it looks like a class that won't immediately put players at a disadvantage if they choose it. Players have wanted to play Monks forever, but the Monk class has just been a downer for years, especially since 5e came out. Also, Barbarians now have some of the same kind of options that Fighters do thanks to that new Brutal Strike ability, but in a flavorful way that makes sense with their class. And Druids seem like they are getting fine-tuned and balanced rather than being stripped of most of its flavor. Most importantly, this playtest really feels like it's set out to do what Dungeons & Dragons design team keeps saying that the 2024 rework is all about, which is making substantial improvements to 5e while keeping the rule set relevant and familiar feeling. This feels a lot more than just an errata, which has been one of our consistent complaints with past playtests. That, the further we go along with this, the more and more we feel like the 2024 player handbooks are just, errata, just the same thing that we've gotten before, but with a few tweaks. This is much more meaningful, and more importantly, it's a much more purposeful rework of the classes that make them seem more fun, more flavorful, and more varied than what's come before. If this is what we're going to be getting in the 2024 core rulebooks, 2024 is going to be a great year. So, what do you think of the new Unearthed Arcana playtest? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.